right. You guys hear me okay? I'll assume that's a yes because I don't see any messages saying no. All right, we'll try and get through some of this stuff relatively quickly so we don't take up everybody's afternoon, or I guess it's still morning. So I'll dig right in. First couple things I want to show you on the chat and text, just some quick stats. Basically going to be about 5 slides that are as simple as this one, and then we'll show you what sort of our chat platform looks like and what makes it completely different than the other 5 or 6 really big players in the market. So the first thing here, this is just a stat talking about how many people actually are using mobile messaging. So that could be a chat or a text from their mobile phone during the research and shopping phases now in purchases. So you're looking at 71%. I don't know if that's a very shocking number. I think a lot of people are kind of expecting that that it's that busy or prevalent right now. Probably more interesting is this next stat where you can see that actually 76% of these buyers prefer to use mobile messaging versus the phone. Really relevant in sort of the millennial generation as well. Really quick story to share was my wife's youngest brother was, I think, 24 years old this year. He went to purchase his first new car, and he actually got in touch with me and said, do you have any contact with a different Mazda dealership? Because he wanted a Mazda 3, and he said, I've been trying to get in touch with this dealership for a week now, and they won't get in touch with me. They won't call me back. Or sorry, won't contact me back. And I said, well, okay, who is it? Went to their website, checked it out, and I said, who are you talking to? And he said, well, I've been texting that phone number on their website, and nobody's texted me back. And what it ended up actually being is that they literally had no text product. It was just a dealership with a phone number on their website, and he was texting it over and over, and it's one of those things. He said, I'm not going to phone them because first vehicle purchase, he's intimidated to do that. He wanted to speak over text where it's sort of non-threatening, just to get a bit more information before he went in and actually looked at that vehicle or worked on financing. Interesting stat on the texting as well, just that we're seeing in our usage right now. We had a 170% increase year over year in people texting dealerships. So pretty massive change, and we're not talking from a small sample set. That's where we're hitting 1.5 million messaging sessions over text and mobile chat, but 170% increase on mobile. So it's, I think people are finally there. I don't know that I even know anyone anymore that doesn't have a smartphone. So people are ready to buy this way and actually transact business this way. Lastly, last important stat here that's just really, really powerful is this is of people who could actually chat with a business, chat or text with a business, and I'm not talking about chatting with a call center that is not at the dealership or in the middle of nowhere. I'm talking about people who could actually chat with real dealership staff or text with real dealership staff. So many people say it enhanced their experience. So 98%. Can't really argue with that. I've experienced it myself even before I was with Contact At Once. It was definitely a good experience to be able to actually talk to somebody real over chat when you only have a few seconds to talk. So let me move on to show you a little bit about what we do. So fundamentally, the difference between us and other chat companies, and I think why Strathcom has partnered with us, is other chat companies, and there's a bunch out there. I would say there's probably 5 or 6 though in Canada that you probably come across or probably get phone calls from frequently. Their methodology is essentially to have a call center try and capture a lead from a customer. That might be fine, 5-10 years ago, but today people are expecting instant responses. Even if you go on to, for your cell phone or something like that, if you're on Bell Canada's mobility site or on Rogers' site, you can live chat now with real agents that can actually help you with your bill and do things like that. So people are expecting to talk to a real person that can actually help them and not just gather their info. My last experience using one of our competitors, and of course we secret shop these guys all the time. I went on a website and I had a question on a vehicle. This is a vehicle I was buying for my wife back in December, and I had a few criteria that I needed to meet, pretty simple ones. The first thing I asked was, does this car have a heated steering wheel? Because it doesn't say, and it was under CPO lot. And the answer back from the agent to me was, "What's your phone number?" And I said, "Well, I don't want to give you my phone number right now. Can you just answer that question?" And they replied, "What's your email address?" And I said, "Okay, again, don't want to give you my contact info right now. I just need to know if this one car has the spec that I want, and then I'm going to come and drive it." And they actually replied with, "Why don't you just call the dealership?" And to me, it was just an infuriating process. The reason why I didn't want to call them and why I chatted, I was sitting there watching TV with my kids, and I wasn't about to, pause the cartoon that was on so they could freak out while I make a phone call for 5 minutes when I could just do this over chat. So again, it's one of those things, people just expect instant response now, and that's what we're trying to offer. So our platform, instead of just having a call center trying to gather lead info, we actually allow a customer to come in, click to chat, and you can see kind of in this example here, that's a website in London, Ontario. The real person that works at the dealership, their face pops up. And that actually works across no matter how many people you have installed. You could have 10 agents, 10 salespeople in the dealership, and somebody's real picture is going to show up of who is most available at the time. And if somebody clicks to chat, and you guys could try this with any real dealership, you can actually talk to the salesperson on the floor, ask them questions about the car, and for the customer, 10 times better experience, no waiting. It's not going to be this thing where it's converted to a lead and then you call them back, half an hour later, maybe the next day. You can't get the customer on the phone now because they've gotten busy with other things. It's talk to them when they're excited and have questions about your cars. We actually just did a study with Acura in the U.S. and they were seeing, and we had to check their sales data to match people back, but of people that chatted and talked to real people in the dealerships, 28% of them actually bought a car in the next 60 days. So it was a pretty dramatic closing ratio. And again, much different than a lead that's just gathered from a call center. It's if a customer could really get you right away. These are sort of high-end customers because they're using digital space, typically higher income, things like that, and they do buy. So that's kind of the basics of it, is that we allow you to actually talk to your real customers. Now that said, obviously people get busy. You can't necessarily have somebody just sitting there waiting for chats all the time. So we do back you up in that if your team doesn't answer within a certain amount of time, it will actually bounce over to our concierge answering team to answer on your behalf. And then that also works after hours because, of course, your people probably don't want to be taking chats at midnight. So, after hours, obviously, we'll take all those for you as well. Just a little quick stat, too, on what we see on sort of an average site. And these numbers have just been rounded up just to give you an idea. But with a bunch of studies, and you can see all these different sites, from classified sites to OEM sites, Chrysler Canada was in there, and basically, if a dealership, before they had messaging, and by messaging I mean chat, text, and any other form of digital messaging, before they had that, if they were getting, let's say, 10,000 phone calls in a year, maybe that equates to they were getting 1,000 emails in that same time period, because it's about 10% typically. So 11,000 total touch points, total contacts with customers. When they add messaging to their websites, that we saw almost no cannibalization from their existing contacts. So they would still get 10,000 phone calls, they'd still get 1,000 emails, but all of a sudden you're getting another 20%, so call it 2,200 new contact points over that year for, and this would be a large dealership example, but to give you an idea, that's what we're getting, is this just a big lift that way, whereas you're not losing those other methods. And I know that was a concern that I've heard from a lot of people is, well, if they're messaging me, they're just taking away from my phone calls, and it's absolutely not the case. It's actually that you're getting more customers because oftentimes it's a convenience factor. Somebody's at work, they're on their break, maybe they only got 15 minutes. They don't necessarily want to jump on the phone because they've got a couple things to do, but they can shoot you a text, ask you a question about that car. If it's the answer they want, ask them for a test drive that night. You know what I mean? Maybe they can come in right after work, but maybe they would not have even contacted you otherwise. So that's really what that stat shows you. So here's some other things just to make it easy and clean to use on a mobile device. I know we talked about how mobile is huge and certainly getting bigger, but great example of what their same website looks like on a mobile. You can see really simple big buttons that say text message or live chat. The trick to the big buttons here, and there's a lot of people that do this differently, is if you have a phone case, some of the buttons get so small they're almost impossible to click, or to tap rather, from your phone. So, you know, nice big buttons, super easy to use. If you click live chat, you get a chat window. If you click text message, you can see on the right-hand side, it just pops open your native text browser. So whatever you're using, in this case, this is on an Android phone. But on an iPhone, it just opens up iMessage. And literally that customer is now texting the dealership directly. And where this is a lot better than giving out, you know, individual salespeople's numbers is if a salesperson leaves a dealership, they're not taking your phone, your customers with them on their phone, because in this case, when a customer texts in that 226 number, it actually goes through the software but is routed to the individual salesperson. And then if that salesperson is no longer there, the customer can still contact the dealer. And, you know, basically you're retaining all your customer phone numbers and information instead of having, you know, somebody walk away and go to the dealership down the road and start contacting your customers via text. A couple other ways that we integrate, because again, it's just about making it super, super easy for the customer to contact you and do it at their convenience. This is Google results. Everyone's probably got something like this set up where you've got, if somebody searches for your dealership name, they can tap to call you. So great, right? Super convenient. But again, a lot of people are not necessarily interested in making a phone call. So we can add this little feature for you here where if somebody searches for your dealership name in Google on their mobile phone, they'll just have a text button. So they can immediately tap that and they're texting you, and just like the last screen, they're going to get that little pop-up where the 226 number is, and that's it. They're texting you live. And again, it's not texting a call center somewhere, it's texting real people in your dealership that can answer their questions in real time and try and get them in to actually make them, you know, drive a car and buy the car. Next other piece as well for convenience is Facebook Messenger. So we're actually one of only 2 companies globally that are integrated with Facebook Automotive. And what this means is that customers that come to your Facebook page can actually live message you through Facebook Messenger and get in touch with a real person at the dealership. You might have seen on TV, Bell actually, again, as an example, Bell is advertising this for their cell phones and their satellite service, that you can go on Facebook Messenger and talk to a real person at Bell Canada. You might be right now saying, well, you know what, I barely get any messages through Facebook. If you have something set up on Facebook, that you get nothing per month. Probably true. And here's some examples. You can see on the left-hand side what a typical Facebook page looks like to a customer. It rates you, and if you're not using an instant solution like this, Facebook will tell the customer, they typically reply within a day, right? So how many people are going to use that? Not that many, because it's basically tantamount to an email system. Customers don't love email, so you're not going to get a lot of responses that way. Most dealers that we look at right now, if their page says replies within a day or replies close to a day, they're getting probably 4 or 5 Facebook conversations per month. So almost not even useful at all. On the right-hand side is a dealership that's actually integrated with our software as well, so that Facebook Messenger has real-time answers by your entire sales staff. And again, after hours, we'll answer for you so that they're at least talking to a real person. And Facebook does 2 things. One, they give you that fancy green badge up top that says very responsive to messages. And then down below, they rate to see how fast you actually respond. And so that's one of our dealerships in Tilbury, Ontario. And you can see in that case, it actually says typically replies instantly. And again, why that's really cool is you get a lot more contacts that way. The typical dealer that has this integrated is getting over 20 Facebook messages per month from their customers on Facebook Messenger, where they're asking questions about either sales or actually service. A lot of service interest on that side as well, which is kind of interesting. Maybe from existing customers that have liked your page, and then they'll come back and actually use Messenger to try and talk to you. So on the product, just real quick, I wanted to show people what it actually looks like. So bear with me while I'm pulling this up. And if anybody from Strathcom can let me know if you do not see the demo. Hopefully it is going to pop up here, but I'm not sure if my screen is sharing. So what you basically have here is a little chat with me now window. I actually can't, sorry, hold on with me 1 second here. There we go. I couldn't actually click the button because of where the screen sharing thing was. But if I go ahead and click to chat, a customer is going to just see this really simply. They click to chat with you. They get this little spinny wheel, which is, again, checking in the dealership to see who now is currently online. I'm going to be test customer 40 for today. I say connect me with an agent. You get that cool didgeridoo sound, or some might call it super annoying didgeridoo sound, pops up, and this is exactly what your sales team would see. I'm going to go ahead and answer that chat because I'm available. As soon as I answer the chat, on the left-hand side, this is what the customer would see is my picture and full name has now dropped in. We see by having a real picture with a real name that your chat conversations go up actually by about 20% over not having a picture like that. Because what you're getting, right, is a customer that thinks they're talking to a real person, which they are in this case, and most customers, if not all, do not want to talk to a bot. They don't want to talk to a call center that can't actually help them. That's just going to frustrate them more. So in this case, great, let's say I'm going to use a little shortcut, say hi to the customer. Sends them a little thing saying, hi, this is John, how may I help you? You can disable that sound, by the way, in case anybody's wondering, but we have it on for the demo purpose. And then basically, the salesperson can also see some information about the customer, which is relevant. So I can see, where's this customer coming in from? Here's their IP address and roughly their geographic location. You can get anytime, because this customer has come in a couple times before, you can see they previously called themselves test customer 2. And we know that because we put a cookie on their browser. They previously supplied a phone number and an email address. So I've already got that from them and don't need to go after that. You can also see a full history of every time that they've ever contacted the dealership before. And you can even go so far as to read a transcript if you'd like, so I can open that up and read a transcript to see what they were looking at. And then you can also see in this origination piece what they were looking at. So in this case, they were just on the front page of this fake website. So no big deal. But in a lot of cases, you know, you'd see they were currently looking at a specific vehicle, you know, stock number 1234, and it's a great way to start a conversation. Hey, saw you were looking at that, you know, black Ford Raptor, great choice. How can I help you further? You know, that type of thing. So a few different things you can do there. Also from a salesperson perspective, because of course you're not going to have everybody sitting at their desk all day and they're not going to be on their computers all day, but pretty sure, again, 98% will probably have a smartphone. So this same app that you're seeing here essentially installs on their smartphone so that when a chat conversation or a text conversation or a Facebook conversation is coming in, that their cell phone will actually light up and say, incoming conversation, would you like to accept? And the way that it works is if you have 10 salespeople installed, for example, all 10 would receive the incoming conversation at the exact same time. Whoever answers it first, they get the conversation and it disappears from everybody else's phone or computer. The reason we do it that way, some salespeople would prefer round robin. Customers don't care about round robin though. You know, they just want to talk to you really, really fast, and that's what we facilitate for your dealership. Again, if somebody's too busy to answer, that's okay, because we will answer for you after a certain period of time, and that's all configurable depending on how quick or how slow you want that to work. I should mention also there's some fairly advanced features. I'm not going to try and demo them today on the webinar, but if anybody's interested, we can do one-on-one demos at any point to show you some of the more advanced features. But it's things like if a customer, you know, asked for, hey, can't make it in today, but really wanted to see the vehicle interior, you know, something like that. I can actually take over that conversation on my smartphone, and I can just say, sure thing, and I can actually broadcast a live video to that customer from my smartphone. Walk right into the lot, sit in the car, show an interior view of the vehicle, and then go back to chatting. If you don't want to do a live video, that's okay. You can actually do just photos. So you can send an image that you've taken right then. But why that's nice is the customer might have a specific thing they want to see that's not in your photo gallery, and you can say, no problem, I'm walking into the lot, 2 minutes later, here's your photo, you're all set. And it's one of those things, again, you've gotten it to the customer in near real time, and gotten to them while they're hot and while they're excited. So that's kind of the basics of how the platform works. I'm going to real quickly jump over to sort of a bit of a comparison slide. Let me just jump to the end here. As I mentioned, there's a lot of companies out there, but basically, Contact At Once has always been sort of ahead of the curve on technology for dealership conversations. We've had a dealership chat platform for over 15 years now. Our text platform was actually the first to launch in dealership live texting, the first one, and that was about 5 years ago. We're one of two companies that do the Facebook Messenger. We're one of one that actually does Google Local Business, so people can again text you right from Google. And we're still at pretty much the lowest price in the industry, or very, very close. And again, this just gives you an idea of some of these competitors. We're not naming who they are, but I'm sure that a couple of dealers on the call probably know who some of these guys are and are using them. But we'd love to talk to you. I think at the very least, we can offer you a lot more ways for your customers to get in touch with you. Letting them come at you via Facebook or via Google, or if you've only got chat, well, now they can text you also. A lot of different things like that. But really, the advantage is, and I think everyone, if you even try and secret shop your own website or another dealer website that's not using Contact At Once, try and ask them a question about a car, and let me know, if you think it's a bit frustrating or not the best experience that it could be. And all we're trying to do, again, there's lots of dealerships out there. There's lots of choices for customers. Customers are driving 50, 100 kilometers now to get cars in many, many cases. So you don't want to be competing with your own brand. You don't want to be competing with other people when you could have just gotten the customer an answer and got them in to see you right when they're asking these questions. So that is really all I had in a very quick nutshell. I know we went through it really fast, but maybe I can flip it back to Strathcom and ask if there are any questions coming in from the crowd, or anybody's interested in anybody wants to set up another demo or anything like that, to do a live demo where you can see the video and photos one-on-one and all that stuff.
Hey, John, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so I do have a couple questions that have come in. One of them I think is really important, just because with how important site speed is and things like that. One question was, does Contact At Once impact site speed, and if so, how much?
Great question. Great question. It's actually also almost impossible to answer, but I'll do my best at it. So, does it impact site speed? Minimally, yes, as anything does. You'll see if you have a gallery on your front page, which a lot of dealers do, where they've got 3 or 4 slides, just adding a 4th slide versus a 3rd slide, that's actually going to impact your Google score. So every piece of content will affect your Google score slightly. That said, we have just launched, and actually Strathcom is the only WSP who is launching this, who provides this version of our software, and we call it our new embedded chat. And there's 2 advantages to this. One, having an embedded chat window means that when a customer is on your website and they click to chat, the chat code exists in the existing browser window. So it doesn't have to pop out, and it doesn't have to open a second browser. Why that's good is because of security. So if a customer of yours has medium to high security, it's possible that with other chat solutions, they could be blocked. And it would literally, give them the warning up top, well, you've got to enable this and change your security settings. Super frustrating. Most customers will just close it at that point. But with our new embedded window, which Strathcom provides, it's literally not blocked by any browser, nor is it blocked on mobile phones, which is very cool. But to get back to the speed question, this new embedded window is also very highly optimized. So I would expect that you wouldn't see more than a 1 or a 2% drop on your Google rating, and it's, kind of industry best. But that's something we can work with you on, as well as work with your WSP, work with Strathcom on that for site optimization, but I can assure you, we've got many clients that have Google ratings well over 90% with that with our chat window enabled.
Absolutely, and just from my own experience and hearing from clients using other providers and things like that, that they tend to slow the sites down a lot more because they don't offer the same kind of solution that you guys offer with it being embedded and things like that.
Absolutely.
And we do have another question in from Sander. He asks, who or what decides which sales consultant gets the chat?
Oh, okay, so that's a great question. So there's two levels to that really, but the first thing is the picture that will pop up on your screen, or sorry, on the customer screen rather, first is the agent that's the most available. And so what we mean by that is we have a presence engine that runs on the salesperson's desktop computer. And so we basically know who's typing and who's active. Whoever is most recently used their computer would actually be in that pool of most active. Also, whoever is most recently logged on and has their phone screen unlocked, most active. And so that would be the first person that would pop up in that picture. But then it actually goes to everybody that's available or online at the same time. The people that are timed out aren't going to come up in that pool, but anybody that's logged in will pop up in that mix. So, if you have 5, 10, 15 people, they're all going to get the conversation on their phone at the same time. But again, whoever clicks it first or taps it first, they win, and it goes away from everybody else. So hopefully that answered the question.
I think so. Another question that I have here is, so you mentioned that if someone wants to ask about a vehicle after hours, so you do have an option available for that. So the first part of the question is, what is how long does it take before a chat bounces to one of your responders? And the other part is, what information would your responder ask for from the customer? Like, how in depth do they go?
Okay. So for the first part, so how long does it take? So our default bounce is 30 seconds. Sounds really, really fast, but there's a really great reason for that. On a chat, your average customer will actually close a chat window in 47 seconds if nobody responds to them. So we like to bounce them at 30, and that way we're still touching base with them. And again, if you have a lot of people in your dealership with the software installed, somebody's going to grab that in 30 seconds. You'd be surprised, but on a smartphone especially, we're seeing, I was looking at some transcripts today, and this dealership was grabbing in, it was 7 seconds, 12 seconds, 10 seconds, and it was just, I was blown away by how fast people can do it. But yeah, that's the bounce rate for a chat. Now, text is actually a little bit different. We set the default bounce for a text to 5 minutes. And the reason for that is because sure, you want to get them instantly, and obviously that's the goal, but if a customer texts you and you don't answer in 30 seconds, the worst case scenario is that they close their phone, right, or turn the screen off on their phone. But as soon as you reply back via text, you've reinitiated that conversation with that customer, and it's just ongoing. So text is a bit more of a long conversation method or medium, whereas chat, you have to get them in that 47 seconds, or they literally close the box and walk away, and you have no chance to get them again. And then to expand that a little bit further, after hours, there is, if your people are actually offline, which we would see again from knowing the presence, then we're going to answer instantly. So there's not even going to be that 30-second rollover wait. We'll see if you're offline, no problem. We're going to answer for you, and we'll probably get to it in that 2 to 10 seconds kind of thing. It's always very, very fast. Sorry, and the second part of the question again?
Just like, so if someone sends a message after hours about a vehicle, since your responder isn't at the dealership, are they just going to kind of say like, oh, what are you looking for? Like, someone will get in touch with you in the morning, or kind of what information are they providing to that customer?
Oh, okay, for sure. So yeah, these are automotive trained people. Our answer team is actually, we've got 3 locations right now, but we've got answer teams in Atlanta, Georgia, in New York City, and in Montreal, obviously for the purpose that we handle French customers as well. But basically, we will answer those chats with our automotive trained team. They don't answer for anything else. They just do automotive. And their goal is to answer a couple of questions for your customers and provide a little bit of trust to them before they hunt for that lead information. So, the example of somebody coming in and asking about a feature or a spec. Somebody comes in and says, what's the towing capacity on that vehicle? Well, the first thing that our team does is looks on your website, and they go to that vehicle and they look through the specs and they go through it, because oftentimes we see this all the time. The spec's already listed there. The customer just didn't see it. And so then we'll just go through and essentially cut and paste what you've already put on your website and say, oh, great, here's the towing capacity, it's 12,500 pounds. And then at that point is when they'll try to get some customer information of, hey, did I answer your question successfully? Can I go ahead and get your phone number, and somebody can follow up with you tomorrow morning on that vehicle, that type of thing. But the idea is always trying to give before you take, whereas most of our competitors just hunt for lead info, because literally the people that work in the call centers get paid that way. So they're just after a phone number and email address, and they don't care about the quality of the experience for the customer. Mm-hmm. So hopefully that answers that. The only thing we won't talk about is we will not discuss pricing. And I would assume that if I could hear the dealers on the line, there'd be a sigh of relief there, because trust me, we don't want our team to get into the pricing for you. That's your expertise. We're not going to talk payments. We're not going to talk credit. We're just going to try to set appointments in that case for you.
Awesome. And then we did have another question from Sander, who asked, is there a way to funnel service sales customers to the right department employees, so that way sales consultants won't be trying to answer service inquiries? Or what are your experiences with that?
Yes, there's a couple different ways that we can set that up, and there's some good dealership examples that we can kind of go through with you on a one-on-one basis. But yeah, the short answer is yes. You can set up a selector so that if somebody's on your front page and they see that photo of the person and they click to chat, it'll actually ask them, do you mean to chat with sales or service? And they can pick. So that's the easiest way to start routing. Some customers will still pick wrong, and that's okay, because afterwards you can transfer to another agent. So if I'm in sales, I get it, and the person says, oh, I actually wanted to book, 300-point inspection or whatever they want to do. I can go ahead and transfer that to the service department. And then the other thing is, though, if somebody happens to be on your service page specifically, that little pop-up window with the person's photo, it's actually only going to pop up people from your service department. So, again, just another way to make it easier for that customer. But realistically, yes, you can configure it a few different ways. There's a few different icons that we've got for that, but we can route it to different departments. Okay,
perfect. Did anyone else have any other questions for John? Yeah, if anyone has any more questions, you can feel free to email them to me directly, just at jcaruth@strathcom.com. And then there's also John's contact information there if you want to reach out to him for a one-on-one demo and for some more information. And if that's all the questions that we have, I just want to pass on thank you to John for all of your time and for all of your help and all the information. Thank you so much. It was very, very useful. It doesn't look like we have any more questions. Did you have anything else to touch on, John, before we wrap things up?
No. Well, I guess the last thing I should probably mention, just as part of the way that the setup works, one thing that's actually really cool about this is we can even text enable your existing landline phone numbers. So if you've been using a landline for 10, 15 years and customers all know it, great. We can actually enable that, and then you can tell people call or text us, and they'll be able to get through that way. The other thing is, as far as getting you set up or trying it, really, is there's not a contract term. I mean, it's basically a 30-day thing, so you're not locked in for a year or anything like that. And the idea is that, well, we think you're going to see great results from it, and want to stay a customer rather than lock you into a one-year term. So yeah, if anybody's interested in trying it, let us know, and we can do another one-on-one demo if anybody else from your dealerships want to see it. And otherwise, get you set up pretty quick, and you should start seeing a whole ton of conversations rolling in.